I am your coolest daddy.
Constant touching.
Very codependent, very codependent.
I'm gonna have a panic attack and I'm gonna leave.
No, we've actually really enjoyed being with each other. He's one of my favorite people.
So, the whispers are getting louder, and the tea? It's scalding hot. The internet is buzzing with a rumor so wild, so outrageous, it could only be about Hollywood's current golden boy, Pedro Pascal. The man, the myth, the daddy of TikTok, is he really the lovable, soft-spoken icon we've all fallen for? Because what's coming out of the Fantastic Four set, if you believe the gossip, is painting a completely different picture. And the person allegedly spilling the beans isn't some random tabloid source, it's his own co-star, Vanessa Kirby. I'm talking about a behind-the-scenes story that has everyone on the set looking at each other, not with admiration, but with a mix of confusion and pure, unadulterated, secondhand embarrassment.
Oh my god, babe. Did you hear the news?
My whole family just got in a house fire.
No, I just got cast in a Pedro Pascal movie. I know, right? Fuck, isn't that awesome? Oh my god. Oh no. Don't worry, babe. I'm not gonna leave you now that I'm an A-list celebrity actor.
I mean, can you imagine? Hollywood's most charming, anxiety-riddled actor, a man who built an entire career on being the most huggable, emotionally available dude in the industry, might have a secret. A secret that, according to some very specific rumblings, is making his co-stars want to take out a restraining order, but like in a polite, Hollywoody way. The whole narrative we've been fed, the sensitive guy who touches people to ground himself, it's starting to sound a lot like a character description for a low-budget psychological thriller. Think about it. He goes from being the stoic, protective Mandalorian to suddenly being a bit much. A little too touchy, a little too close, a little too something. But what exactly is that something? And how did a seemingly harmless red carpet moment become the catalyst for this whole mess?
It's been a dream to join the MCU. The movie is called The Fantastic Four. I'll confess, I did all my stretching.
The story starts with what was supposed to be a standard press interview for the Fantastic Four. The cameras are rolling, the questions are flying, and there's Pedro sitting next to his co-star, Vanessa Kirby. Now, Vanessa is a pro. She's a respected actress with an Oscar nomination under her belt. She's serious, she's elegant, she's pregnant, and she's engaged. But if you watch the clip, you'll see Pedro with his hands, his whole body language, doing something that can only be described as the human equivalent of a cat kneading dough on a person's face. He's stroking her cheek, he's whispering in her ear, and you can see her visibly stiffen, her polite smile looking like it was painted on with a permanent marker. It wasn't a quick, friendly tap. It was a lingering, possessive touch that had everyone watching feeling a collective sense of unease.
Let's see your nails first.
Oh, yes, of course.
They're very nice. Yeah, they're very beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, I'm a heartthrob.
I don't know why this guy makes me so uncomfortable.
Now, was this just a quirky moment, or was it a sign that the daddy persona was starting to get a little too comfortable with its own boundaries? And the internet, as it always does, went wild. The comment sections weren't filled with the usual, "Oh my god, they're so cute together" posts. They were filled with questions. A lot of questions. People were unsettled, not because of a one-off mistake, but because this wasn't an isolated incident. Suddenly, clips from his past interviews started resurfacing. There's one with Sarah Paulson, a longtime friend, where he's holding her a little too tightly, rubbing her back, whispering something in her ear, and her whole body goes rigid. She looks like a mannequin that just learned what personal space is. And then there's the clip with Dakota Johnson, where he allegedly told her she should open an OnlyFans for her feet. The joke was so bizarre, so out of left field, it made everyone wonder if Pedro was just a master of inside humor or if he was just really, really bad at reading a room. What else has he been getting away with because everyone just chalks it up to his anxious personality?
There's a lot of Marvel movies. If you're in the top 5, you're doing...
Because let's be real, his excuse has always been the same: anxiety. He talks about it in every interview, how he needs physical touch to stay grounded, how it's his way of connecting. It's the perfect shield, a genius defense mechanism that makes you feel like a monster for even questioning him. But when does vulnerability stop being a personal trait and start becoming a get-out-of-jail-free card for questionable behavior? It's like a grown man saying he talks to himself because he's an auditory learner. At some point, you have to wonder if it's a personality quirk or just a well-rehearsed act. And if it is an act, who is he performing for? Because let's be real, his excuse has always been the same: anxiety. He talks about it in every interview, how he needs physical touch to stay grounded, how it's his way of connecting. It's the perfect shield, a genius defense mechanism that makes you feel like a monster for even questioning him. But when does vulnerability stop being a personal trait and start becoming a get-out-of-jail-free card for questionable behavior? It's like a grown man saying he talks to himself because he's an auditory learner. At some point, you have to wonder if it's a personality quirk or just a well-rehearsed act. And if it is an act, who is he performing for? The most baffling part is that Hollywood, the same town that has canceled entire careers over a single tweet, has been dead silent. The studios, the media, the co-stars, they're all pretending not to see it. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion, where everyone has their hands over their eyes, but they're still peeking through their fingers. The word is that even Disney, the very hand that feeds him, is reportedly nervous. Whispers on the set claim they canceled a featurette that was supposed to be all about Pedro. You don't pull a promotional video on your lead actor unless something is seriously wrong. It's a massive red flag. So, why would Disney, the kings of image control, suddenly get cold feet and try to quietly sweep this all under the rug? Rumors say it all comes down to the brand. Pedro Pascal isn't just an actor, he's a product. He's the perfect blend of being Latino but not too ethnic, progressive but not too controversial, masculine but also emotionally soft. He's a walking, talking algorithm match that studios can plug into any project and expect a $1 billion return. He's the good guy who can do no wrong, because his entire image is designed to be harmless. But if he's so harmless, why is his co-star, Vanessa Kirby, reportedly keeping her distance? Her silence is louder than any headline. And in Hollywood, where optics are everything, her subtle discomfort is the loudest thing in the room. This wasn't a scandal. It was a slow burn realization that the persona might be more smoke and mirrors than a real person. But what happens when the public starts to see through the smoke? Because the evidence just keeps stacking up. Once you start noticing the pattern, it's impossible to unsee. Remember that resurfaced clip with Willem Dafoe's wife? Pedro, mid-conversation, starts leaning in a little too close, his body language shifting from friendly to something else entirely. And William Dafoe, bless his soul, looks like a dad at a high school dance, his smile disappearing into a stare that says, "Sir, I will end you. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a butter knife." Individually, these are just weird moments. Collectively, they paint a picture of a guy who's maybe a little too comfortable being adored, a little too comfortable crossing a line and then blaming it on his quirks. And the question becomes, how many times can you use the "I'm an anxious boy" card before people start realizing you're just playing the system? The crazy thing is, the same industry that blackballed Gina Carano for her controversial social media posts is protecting Pedro, who, let's be honest, has also made some very bold and provocative statements. The difference? Her opinions didn't align with the studio's values. His did. He's safe. He's a star who can cry about anxiety in one interview, endorse the right social causes in the next, and then headline a multi-billion-dollar franchise. He's not just popular, he's politically, socially, and economically valuable to the machine. But what happens when that value starts to drop because the public is starting to question the very foundation of his brand? It's like we're all watching a reality show where the star is a meticulously crafted character, and now the cracks are starting to show. The fans who once adored him are starting to feel skeptical. The viral clips that used to be seen as wholesome are now being dissected for signs of discomfort. The charm that once felt so natural now feels like a rehearsed act. It's not a full-blown scandal, not yet, but it's something far more subtle and maybe even more damaging. It's a loss of trust. And in an industry built entirely on perception and public affection, that's the beginning of the end. But what is it about Pedro Pascal's image that has made this whole thing so much harder for people to talk about? The whole narrative of him being the anxious boy has become a powerful shield. When people raise concerns, the built-in excuse is ready to go. He's just emotional. He's neurodivergent. He's not creepy. He's just anxious. And that framing makes you feel bad for criticizing him. It's a masterful move. It makes his vulnerability a tool, not for connection, but for controlling the narrative and deflecting any and all criticism. But a mental health challenge doesn't excuse making others uncomfortable, and it definitely doesn't erase a pattern of behavior. So we're left with a haunting question. Is Pedro Pascal's vulnerability real, or is it the most elaborate, most profitable performance of his career? And if it's the latter, what happens when he finally runs out of new characters to play? He's so protected by the media that they refuse to even acknowledge the red flags, and that's where the real problem lies. The media keeps pushing the same narrative. Pedro Pascal is charming, Pedro Pascal is harmless, Pedro Pascal is one of the good guys. They're so invested in this persona that they refuse to see the truth. But the truth is, Vanessa Kirby's subtle discomfort, Sarah Paulson's stiffness, Willem Dafoe's hardened face, it all adds up to a feeling that no one can quite ignore. It's that feeling you get when you're in a room with someone and the vibe is just off, and you can't quite put your finger on it, but you know it's there. And for the first time, people are starting to talk about that feeling. What will happen if this feeling finally spreads to the rest of the public? Because the media can only protect him for so long. Eventually, the public catches on. The same people who made him daddy are starting to become skeptical of his touchy-feely persona. The image is still there, smiling, charming, quirky, but the energy has changed. It's a phenomenon that happens when a public figure gets overexposed but underexamined. The illusion wears thin, the mystique fades, and suddenly, the emperor's new clothes don't fit. The whispers of discomfort are getting louder, and the public is starting to ask the one question that the media has been too afraid to. What is really going on behind the scenes with Hollywood's most charming actor? What secrets is the industry so desperately trying to protect? It's a perfect storm of overexposure, carefully curated branding, and a growing public skepticism that is causing Pedro Pascal's persona to unravel. He's become a product, and the public is starting to realize that the product may have some serious flaws. The silence from his co-stars, the alleged canceled featurette from Disney, and his repeated patterns of questionable interactions all point to one thing. The Pedro Pascal we know and love might just be a performance, a role so perfectly crafted by Hollywood that we forgot to question if it was real. But the thing is, you can't keep a secret forever. And the more the media tries to protect him, the more suspicious people become. So the question remains, what happens when the mask finally comes off and we get to see the real Pedro Pascal?